Today we start a new series called Fearless. It's not about living your life with the absence of fear. It's learning what to do with that fear and how God can use you in spite of it. Throughout history, there have been some great motivators to prepare men for battle. And as I was thinking about that, I couldn't help but download that great speech from General George Patton. Men, this stuff that some sources sling around about America wanting out of this war, it's not true. Americans love to fight. Traditionally, all Americans love the sting and the clash of battle, and you're here today for 3 reasons. First, because you're here to defend your homes and your loved ones. Second, you're here to defend your own self-respect because you would not want to be anywhere else. Third, you're here because you are real men, and all real men love to fight. When you were a kid, you admired champion marble players, the fastest runner, the toughest boxer, the big league ball player, and the all-American football player. Americans love winners. Americans will not tolerate a loser, and Americans despise cowards. Americans hate the very idea of losing. You're not all gonna die, he said slowly. Only 2% of you right here would die in a major battle. Death must not be feared. Death in time comes to all men. Yes, every man is scared in his first battle. If he says he's not, he's a liar. Some men are cowards, but they fight the same as brave men, or they get the mess slammed out of them watching men fight who are just as scared as they are. The real hero is the man who fights even though he's scared. Here's a great motivator. The general said there are 400 neatly marked graves somewhere in Sicily, all because one man went to sleep on the job. He paused as his men grew silent, and then he said, but they're enemy graves because we caught the guy asleep before they did. The general went on to say, we have the finest food, the finest equipment, the best spirit, and the best men in the world. Patton then went on to give his men a warning. He said, my men don't surrender. I don't ever want to hear of any soldier under my command being captured unless he's been hit. And even if you are hit, you can still fight back. The general went on to end this speech. He said, there's one great thing that you men will be able to say after this war is over and that you're home once again. You may be thankful that 20 years from now when you're sitting by the fireplace with your grandson on your knee and he asks you, what did you do during the Great World War II? You won't have to cough and shift him to the other knee and say, well, your granddaddy shoveled scuba in Louisiana. No, sir, you can look him straight in the eye and you can say, son, your granddaddy rode with the great 3rd Army and that son of a gun named George Patton. Yeah, there's been some great motivational speeches to lead men into combat. Gideon had one such speech, but it was a little different. Wait till you hear Gideon's speech. Gideon, he's in the Old Testament, not the guy that stayed before you in the hotel. You know, the one that left you the Bible? I don't know, it must be my delivery. Anyhow, we're going to be learning from Gideon as he led men into battle and the motivational speech that God directed him to give. But can you imagine for just a second what it was like to be on the battlefield when the tank first showed up? That happened in World War I. And the tank showed up. Can you imagine what it was like to be the enemy against those first tanks and to be outmanned by such an overwhelming firepower? Gideon had an idea what that was like. History tells us that the Midianites were the first to domesticate the camel. Now that may not seem like a big deal to you, but it was to the Israelites. What that meant is they could ride these camels into battle. They could show up on the battlefield. It could be literally hundreds of miles away. They could show up on the battlefield and be more rested and be stronger and more powerful than their enemy. That made a big advantage for them. And that's who Gideon was up against. Wait till you hear his motivational speech.